Where are we creating tension that mounts up to the point where patients are no longer listening to us when they get into the exam room because we've done them wrong in the last 7 minutes or the last 27 minutes, right? So the true hero of every story is the patient, not the brand, not the practice. And I know that for some, that sounds counterintuitive in healthcare.
Nothing in this podcast is intended to render legal, financial, medical, or other professional information. Because the details of your situation are fact-dependent, we highly encourage you to find a recommended individual that you can trust to give you the expertise that you need related to your situation.
All right, well, it's almost Christmas. It's almost the new year. And I hope everybody is excited about what their holiday plans are, regardless of your celebration. I think it's going to be a good, nice, cold season for everybody around here in the Atlanta South area. But today I want to talk about patient marketing in 2024, share some ideas, some tips, some concepts. I'm probably not going to share anything new that you haven't heard already. But I want to talk to you just about the customer experience, the patient experience. I'm not a physician, but I am a patient, as you know, and I do know what it's like to sit on the other side of the exam room, the service window, those sliding glass windows from you. And so that's the perspective I come at from the content today. And today I want to tell you about, just some of the ideas that I've heard over the years of working with concierge doctors who really have created and curated wonderful customer experiences for their patients. They're very preventive. They're working on subscription-based healthcare delivery models, and they have, I would say, no one has ever perfected the marketing and customer service process in healthcare, but there's a lot happening in the customer service, the hospitality space within healthcare, in concierge medicine in particular, that we can all learn from. And so today I want to tell you about some of those ideas that I've heard and learned from other concierge doctors and share with you those ideas. So first of all, what a jumping off point is, old school marketing says a brand is what consumers tell you. A brand is what it tells consumers that it is. So if I say that this widget is the greatest widget ever, and I'm the owner and creator of the widget, then I'm going to tell you from an old school marketing perspective that this is the greatest widget ever. But new school marketing, the school of thought moving forward into 2024 and beyond, is that a brand, you are a brand, your practice is a brand, your profession is a brand. And quite frankly, unfortunately, primary care, family medicine, pediatrics, it's not got a great reputation. Yes, it's evidence-based. Yes, you did the hard work, the labor, you put a lot of money and sweat and tears and laughs into getting your medical degree. But from a patient perspective, it does have a reputation that's not living up to. I don't want to go back there. When you ever ask a patient, like, hey, what was the last time when you went to visit your last doctor's visit? What was it like? And it's like, oh man, let me tell you. And it's usually never a positive experience. So that's what we want to talk about today, is how do you improve that positive experience in 2024? Well, new school marketing says a brand, your practice, is exactly what consumers of your brand tell each other that it is. So old school marketing says a brand is what it tells consumers it is. New school marketing moving forward is that a brand is what consumers tell each other that it is, right? Moms are sharing this stuff at the bus stop. People are talking about it. So true or false? Is the doctor the hero of the patient's story, or is the patient the hero of the patient's story? It's a little bit of a rhetorical question, but we've all been taught to shine the spotlight on the brand, the doctor, the organization, and not the customer, the patient. Especially this is true in healthcare. Dr. Robert Pearl, in chapter 5 of his book, Uncaring, even highlights the topic on the importance of customer service in hospitality in healthcare, where he says in his book, Uncaring, doctors are taught how to cure people, but they don't always know how to care for them. And I love this perspective because I think that it really does shine a spotlight on in healthcare that says, hey, we've got a reputation problem. We've got a problem here. And it has to do with how the experience of coming to see the doctor. I mean, it's usually not an irresistible place. It's not a place that I want to keep coming back to. But I mean, think about it. Your practice is preventive. It's about health. It's about mindset. It's about wellness. It's about getting better. It's about overcoming. What better place than your practice, your brand, you as a person, your expertise? You're probably the top 5 most influential voices in hundreds, if not thousands of people's lives in your local community. And I love what author of the book, Know What You're For, said. He said, if a business was a person, many businesses and brands would be considered narcissists. Now you can probably, before you shut me off and turn me down, turn the volume down and say, what is this guy talking about? I want you to visit the Instagram or the Facebook page of your practice or a colleague's practice or a local business or brand's practice that you frequent. And count how many of the last 10 posts, let's say, are about the brand, the business, and how many are about the community, the customers, or the people outside the 4 walls of that business. This little exercise may give you an idea about just how inwardly focused that we're still trying to deploy this idea of old school marketing that says, hey, I'm the brand, I'm amazing, you should come see me, my widget is really, really good, versus other people sharing and showing and telling others, their friends, their family, your patients, how great you are. So I think that the real heart of the patient, the real battleground, is the heart of the patient. And when you and I do this effectively, I think that patients will start talking about how great you are. So I have a question for you, but we've actually asked people, hey, would you rather go through TSA screening, go to the DMV, or visit a doctor's office? Many of you are probably thinking, well, that's pretty easy. I'd love to go to a doctor's office. Well, patients responded, so did you in our online poll, and said 62% would rather go through TSA screening than go to a doctor's office. Another 18% said, I'd rather go to the DMV. And only 14.5% said, I'd like to visit a doctor's office. So we do have a reputation problem. There is primary care, family medicine. It has a reputation problem. It's not creating irresistible environments that your customers, your patients want to return to again and again. And then you expect them to say, well, tell others about us and about how awesome we are. If we're not creating a returnable, irresistible, I would love to come back. Can't wait to come back, you know? And it's not necessarily to come back to get better or to get another prescription. It's just because I enjoy being here. And you're like, well, the goal is to get you in and get you out, right? And I get that. But at the same time, I think we need to be learning centers too, because you're teaching your patients, your customers about how to live healthy. And, well, I don't have the time for that. Well, that's also part of the issue, right? Now, Havas Group, I love what they do. I love the work that they do. They looked at did a meaningful brand study, and it's a far-reaching global study created by the Havas Group, and it looks at 1,800 brands in 31 countries with 350,000 respondents. And it links brand performance to the quality of life and our well-being, right? And they found in their survey that people wouldn't care if 77% of the brands that they use disappeared. Now, I thought that was a really provocative and interesting question. So I took that into healthcare, and I asked our listeners, our readers at Concierge Medicine Today, and patients who are prospective seekers of, actively looking for a new doctor. And we asked them, hey, if your doctor went out of business, how much or how little would you actually care? And unfortunately, the results weren't very good. Only 23% of patients said, call the mayor, save the practice. They would absolutely be missed. Please don't let this medical office close. We have to save it. But another 58 plus another 19% said, nah, I'm kind of glad they're gone. I wanted a new one anyway. And yeah, it's going to be inconvenient, but I didn't have a relationship with my doctor's office and my doctor anyway. The PricewaterhouseCoopers customer experience radar even looked at patient expectations and said, staff attitude was cited as the main contributor to positive experiences by 70% of consumers in the provider sector, compared with 38% of retail shoppers and 33% of bank, hospital, and airline customers. And here's another really interesting point. Personal experience was found to be the top reason that patients choose a doctor or a hospital, and it's more than 2.5 times more important than it is to consumers in other industries. So why isn't healthcare doing something about it? Well, that's why we're here to share with you what I think is really the whipped cream on the top of the mocha latte, if you like that sort of thing. And that is, what is concierge medicine doing? Because they seem to be creating these irresistible environments. They're leaning into customer service strategies and finding that, hey, you know what? There's a lot of business stuff out there that's pretty easy to learn and put into my practice that creates a hospitable experience for my customer, for my patient. Now, where do we go with this? What do we do? We've identified that there's a problem, but what are some of the factors? Well, what's most important to patients? Do you really know? I'll tell you that our survey among prospective patients who are actively trying to find a new doctor, they're saying that, look, 64% is, I want to find someone I know, I like, and I trust. Another 18% said convenience. Only 11% said it was about cost. Isn't that interesting? We all make a big case for how healthcare is so difficult and riddled with expensive care, and it absolutely is. Believe me, I've seen the $55,000 bills from the hospitals. It's ridiculous how much healthcare costs. But at the same time, when we're thinking about simple PCP and family medicine and pediatric type of care visits, cost, it's not like visiting an ER, an emergency room, or a hospital visit. So the top 7 reasons patients leave their current physician in 2023. Insurance compatibility and cost was 4%. It was on the bottom of the list, right? Convenience and long wait times, 25%. He or she spends less than 15 minutes with me, 11%. I feel like a number, 18%. 10% said that the staff is difficult to work with. Another 11% was retirement and closing of the practice. And here's an interesting one, 21%, this is pretty high. He or she asks me less than 5 questions. So, Scott Cook, co-founder of Intuit and a billionaire with the director of both Procter & Gamble and eBay, said, a brand is no longer what it tells consumers it is. It is what consumers tell each other that it is. So my question to you is, In the theater, they think about, in the storytelling, we think about things like this. Are you a villain? Are you an inconvenient obstacle? Or are you an ally in the patient's journey, in their story? Now, each scene of your office is a moment of potential tension and conflict between the patient, the customer, and your brand. It could be your staff. It could be paperwork. It could be the parking lot levels. It could be finding your office on the directory. It could be your website. It could be the walk back to the weigh scale. It could be the paint color that's a distraction. Each scene of the visit by your patients to your practice is a moment of potential joy or tension. And when it concerns customer service and patient care, I think that you and I both understand that improving your employee culture is always a sacrifice of one for the many, not the many for the one. And along the way, there's going to be a lot of inconveniences and stress points that patient's going to encounter. And so it's very important that your staff are also on board with what you want to curate as an irresistible experience in your practice, and say, look, we got to do something to improve some of these moments of conflicts, these scenes that the patient is going through. What does the intake look like? How difficult are we making it for them? How difficult is the parking situation that we may not have some control over, but we can help them navigate maybe a little bit from within our boundaries, right? And so when we understand that each scene of your visiting your medical practice is a moment of potential conflict, is this the correct entrance? These are the things that patients are asking, like, right? Like, is this the correct entrance? Are the directions correct? Is there going to be heavy traffic? How long is this going to take? We never know how long a visit's going to take, right? And there's sometimes no way to gauge that because you don't know exactly why the patient's coming in. Is the doctor or nurse going to make me do something embarrassing that I'm not necessarily prepared to do today? Because I've got a real heavy parka on, it's snowing outside, and are people going to look at me weird if I have this boot on? So along the path, there's either going to be, in the patient care experience, there's going to be allies. There's going to be inconvenient obstacles that they're going to bump into your practice. And there's going to be enemies. And my daughter and I, we have gotten into reading books and watching the movies that go along with them now that she's in her mid-teens. And I look at the patient care experience, the customer experience, so to speak, in every medical practice, much akin to, going on this journey. Much like Frodo, if you're familiar with, my daughter and I are not geeks about it. We don't go to conventions or anything like that. But much like Frodo and his ring, he's going to bump into villains and inconvenient obstacles and allies. And hopefully the doctor in the practice, the staff in the practice are the allies, not inconvenient obstacles and not villains within the patient's story and journey to seek better care. Now, I love pushing this boulder up a mountain of hospitality and talking about the importance of customer service in the patient-physician relationship with your practice, because a patient is going to share this story, and usually that story is not a good one this day and age. But that new school marketing of me telling and informing others what your brand is all about is the new 2024 and beyond version of patient referrals and word of mouth marketing. I am going to tell consumers, your future patients, what your practice experience was like based on my last experience. And let's be honest, most primary care, family medicine, and even other specialty environments are not creating irresistible environments for their customers. And if it bothers you that I call patients customers, then this is not necessarily a great webinar for you, because we've already covered that in the past several years. And so as we keep pushing up the boulder of the mountain of talking about customer service and the role of understanding these stress points within the patient care visit each and every time, how difficult is the parking lot, as what am I going to encounter today? How is it raining outside and I didn't bring an umbrella? All these types of stories. I think that we can do so much better, which is why I love what's happening in concierge medicine, for example, because they are setting an example for trying to create an irresistible environment. And if you still need a little bit more persuasion and you're thinking, well, who is this guy? Like, what is he talking about? He's not even a physician. You're right. I'm not a physician. I'm a patient. So I do know what it's like to sit on the other side of the exam room from you. I do know what it's like to sit on the other side of the service window, right? And you're absolutely right. No non-clinician, no practice management marketing person, no one at any conference or any webinar should be telling a clinician how to practice medicine. I am in complete agreement. We've had those conversations before, and I'm not going to insult your intelligence by thinking that we have all the answers, because I've hosted a lot of conferences and webinars and workshops and taught a lot of doctors and had a lot of conversations over the past 20 years and about this topic with physicians. And I can tell you that the doctors who do get this right say that, you know what? Yeah, I grow my practice by word of mouth marketing. And I've found that they say that I found that patients want to, we as physicians want to help them belong to the practice before they actually, trust us and begin to like us. We want to help them understand that we're a vital part of their healthcare journey and that we are for them, because it's no longer about being the best doctor in the world anymore, right? It's about being the best doctor for the world and for your community and for your patients. So whose story is it anyway? In marketing your practice, is it your brand telling the story about how great the physician is and where they went to school and how quickly you can get the patient seen and what services you provide? Then yeah, that's part of your story. But there's got to be some kind of perspective shift as we move forward into 2024. And that perspective shift, obviously, your story and your message of health and wellness and healing and prevention may be one of the greatest stories that you can tell. And it's a good one. But your story of caring and your hospitality is about how you serve someone else. That's the real story. And the true hero of every story is the patient, not the doctor, not the practice. You see, the doctors who have this figured out understand that the visit to your office is the story that the patient is going to tell others about. And that's what new school marketing, that's what looking forward to the future of how healthcare could be and should be is about. That's what we can do in 2024 is shift the focus from my brand, I'm a staff member, I'm a doctor, telling social media, telling others how great I am, versus, you know what, we need to focus a little bit more inward on some of these stress points. Where are we creating tension that mounts up to the point where patients are no longer listening to us when they get into the exam room because we've done them wrong in the last 7 minutes or the last 27 minutes? Right? So the true hero of every story is the patient, not the brand, not the practice. And I know that for some, that sounds counterintuitive in healthcare. I've tackled those and wrestled with those perspectives and philosophies and heard the trolls out there as well. But it's natural to see yourself as the hero in the patient's journey. And absolutely, believe me, my doctor is one of the top 5 most influential voices in my life, probably next to my kids and my wife. 5 words from my doctor carry weight. He can call, she can call, and change my life in an instant. I understand that there is a weight that comes with that, and that he is or she is the hero in my story. But at the same time, from your brand's perspective, if you want to grow and do better at marketing, we've got to create a better customer experience. And it's natural to see every physician, every practice, every business as the hero. But if you're going to be truly a great practice, a great pillar in the community, you have to take a supporting role. And so for some, it's about ego. And now I love what the book from the author of Know What You're For wrote. He said, insideritis is a malady afflicting the vision of organizations by focusing on insider issues over outsider issues. 7 signs you're suffering from insideritis, according to Carey Nieuwhof. He wrote the book At Your Best, which if you haven't got that book, I would highly recommend you take a look and get that book on your wish list. It's called At Your Best. He essentially breaks your time of each day into like a stoplight, a red, a yellow, and a green. Green is like, oh, I love the work I do. Yellow's like, I'm pushing through. And red is like, don't bother me. Don't ask me to do that right now. It kind of breaks up your day into time management. It's a great book for any physician, any person working in healthcare. And he identified the 7 signs in his book, At Your Best, 7 signs you're suffering from insideritis. Number 7, innovation is dead or on life support. New ideas get shot down all the time. And when you're ruled by insideritis and innovation is dead, innovation dies because people like things just the way they are, don't want to change anything, which usually means they like it smaller and smaller every year. And you're like, why are we losing patients? Why is our revenue going down? Why isn't the bonus as big to staff as it was before? Number 6, you ignore or manipulate numbers. Ignoring the numbers, he said, you don't like pretty much guarantees you'll like the future numbers even less. Number 5, you're making emotional decisions. Every physician, just about that I've ever talked to over the years, always gets tired, right? We all get tired. And when you're tired, Carey said, it's just too easy to make bad decisions. And when you make bad decisions, they're usually emotional decisions. You don't have the energy to confront the low-performing team member, so you just ignore it and hope it goes away. And you don't really have the energy either to cast a vision for the new year, so you just cruise on through and fuzz the noise and simple repeat the old ideas. Here's another one, number 4. Acronyms and abbreviations are everywhere. Oh my goodness. Healthcare has so many of those, right? What he says here is, if someone has to learn code to continue being a part of your business, you won't likely have many people in the future come into your business. If you're thinking, well, everyone knows what this particular acronym is, well, you've played right into the central problem of insideritis. Perhaps insiders do, but I can tell you the person outside these 4 walls of this business right now doesn't. Number 3, you're on autopilot, and the systems you designed to serve you, but things get missed or overlooked or excused away because, I love this one, well, that's just how we've always done it. How many of us have heard that? I hear it too. I'm not immune from it working in my spots, my seat on the bus. Every time. Number 2, the absence of pushback. All right. This is a big one in insideritis in many healthcare practices because the doctor's the boss, right? The group, the board, they're the boss. And they can't be pushed, and you can't bring them bad news right now. You got to wait until they're in a good mood to bring back that stuff. Bring them the bad news. The absence of pushback, he says, sometimes means that the people you've reached have settled into a nice pattern of just kind of enjoying what they do, i.e. staff. And when that happens, well, hey, decline is right around the corner. Number 1, your focus is on trying to just keep the customers and forget about trying to recruit new ones. So that's from Carrie Newhoff. I like it's some really great thoughts. So how do you know if your practice, your business, your staff culture is infected with insideritis? Well, insideritis, I think, in healthcare presents itself just like this. In medical offices, it sounds, and it's going to feel, and it's going to hear something like this. Do you have an appointment? What seems to be the problem? Can I have a name? When was the last time you were here? Is it urgent? You'll need to call this number. I don't see a record of that here. Are you or did you? I'm sorry, he or she's not here right now. You're going to have to. You're going to need to. Or my favorite, we'll call you. So that's tough. That's tough to hear because insideritis is an infected healthcare like a bad cancer. And that leads to where we are today, which is primary care, family medicine, a lot of other some specialties, they got a reputation problem. And that cancer that's infected them is called patient burnout. And to me, I think it's the cancer that's growing in our healthcare culture that few who are staff, who are medical providers, who are physicians, who are working to teach doctors, the future doctors, they're going to see our kids and our grandkids in the future. Patient burnout is a cancer that's growing in healthcare culture today, and few have the courage or want to even treat it. And I think that they need to treat it with hospitality and customer service because that's not happening in most healthcare environments today. Instead, the healthcare marketplace of demagogues and bloggers and academics and medical schools and associations and journals and conferences, and they would much rather cancel the premise and dissect the complaint and bury the pronouncement of the cure that says, hey, look, if we made the experience of visiting a medical practice a little bit better, maybe we would be trusted more. Maybe they would like us more. Maybe they would listen to the medical advice I've been trying to give them for years instead of getting worse. Maybe I might even get paid more often, paid better, right? So how do I know that this is actually out there, right? Like, are there any doctors who are, doing anything about this? I bumped into one doctor online, kind of, people, they always say, don't read the comments, never read the comments in social media, right? Well, I read one of the comments and one of the doctors out there had said, I get what you're saying, but instead you're telling me I must surprise and delight patients? What the hell does that mean? He said. And that's exactly the problem. I'm not naive to the fact that there is a resistance to improving the patient experience and trying to create a patient experience that patients want to come back to, right? Very few doctors are doing this, and it's in the single-digit percentages out there. Believe me, I know. That's why I'm here telling this story, because I have kids. They're going to have kids one day, I hope, and I want I want them to find a doctor that they know, they like, and they trust. I want to leave healthcare better than the way it found me. And my standards will continue to remain high for every doctor because I know that 5 words from him carry weight. And 5 words from my doctor mean more than 50 words about my doctor. I love what Horst Schulze, founder, or not the founder, but one of the CEOs of Ritz-Carlton said. He said, unless you have 100% customer satisfaction, you must improve. It boggles my mind as patients how we are never rewarded for being early to to our appointments. But yet we're still asked and forced to wait, listen to the staff complain about their coworkers, the printer, or even the boyfriend. And yet 30 minutes later, no one is even in the waiting room. Yet we still wait. And we wonder, well, why isn't the practice growing? Why are coming in with the same complaints over and over? Think about it. Patient burnout. Many patients don't want to deal with a gauntlet of gatekeepers and paperwork and hassle before they get to the safety of the exam room. So maybe the structures that have been created, maybe you've got some things that you're like, yeah, I probably have some things that could be removed or modified or just done differently. And it's going to take a team to get this done. I can't do this alone. We gotta do better. I think even neurology clinical practice, it's a peer-reviewed clinical neurology journal for the practicing neurologist from the American Academy of Neurology. In August of 2018, they talked about this. Stephen Sergey talked about patient burnout. I think if more medical conferences, medical journals, medical schools, speakers at these different events talked about the patient experience and how we can at least treat it, not cure it, but treat it with hospitality and customer service, and recognize that patients go on a journey, in every part of that journey. They don't just start a journey like Frodo and say, okay, I made it to the volcano, I'm here. No, there was a whole 3-movie series about the journey. And that journey is similar to what a patient goes through. How difficult is it to make an appointment? Well, do I have to take time off of work? I'm already on a thin thread with my boss. I got to take half a day off of work just to go. When is going to be convenient? Am I even going to see the person that I'm hoping to see? How difficult is the parking? Oh, I need groceries. I got to pick up the kids too. Oh, it's all the way across town. You see, hospitality and customer service in a medical office environment as we move forward into 2024 and beyond, it's about a process, yes. But the goal is not to make the patient feel processed. Now that is tough to do. I get it. Because you're busy, there's constraints, and you can only do so much. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for progress. A doctor's message to his or her community today and tomorrow and next year should communicate that, hey, we have been waiting for you, and we're ready to serve you. And we are here for you. If my doctor did more stuff like that, you better believe I'd be all over that. Now, what will your role in the story be as we move into 2024? Is your moment with a patient face to face? Is it a moment of danger or stress? Or is it a place in a moment of healing? Or is it a tension point? Are you at the position, at the helm of the ship where I deal with the emotions every day of patients, and it's difficult. I got the difficult job, right? Well, here's what we can do about it. How can you turn a potential disappointment into a moment of surprise and delight for a patient? Maybe it's working around a restrictive policy, or, in a of course, a legal and moral and ethical way that makes you an ally, i.e., you're preventing an obstacle. Maybe it's the removal of one form. Maybe it's, pretty sure I've completed that one before. It's like, doesn't this ever get put into the computer, right? Like, we've all been there. Maybe it's moving locations because, you just hear over and over how difficult it is to get here. I think that you and I don't want, me as the patient, you as the provider's office, we want to come to a place that we feel is welcoming and ready for us. Patients come back because of how you, your staff, your interior design, the doctor, patients come back because of how you made them feel. And if your goal is a lifelong patient, you've got to focus on relational over transactional. And when you do that, more transactions will be earned. Patients come back because of how you made them feel. And when the more personable your doctors and staff can become, the more meaningful you will be in the patients' lives that you're serving in your local community. And you will reap the benefits of lifelong patients. In order to do that, you've got to give them a reason to continue to choose you. You must give us, as your patients, something remarkable, worth remarking to others about. So start to think in 2024 of every scene in your practice as a scene. It's in a scene in the patient's journey. Because hospitality starts the instant you make eye contact. I would argue that it starts the instant they pick up the phone to call you. How many rings did it get? I heard one doctor, he said, we don't let it go past 2 rings. Imagine if other people in healthcare did that. Imagine the change that would have. Now, I'm not saying everybody, that's impossible. No, it's just not feasible. But what if some in primary care did that? What if you in primary care did that? I'm not asking for perfection from a patient perspective. I'm asking for progress. The first 10 seconds are critically important. Within 4 meters or 12 feet, according to Horst Schulze. I want you to be an ally. An ally is someone who is willing to diligently work towards another person's interests, becoming a trusted confidant and helping them avoid obstacles that get in the way. So as we close our time together, I truly believe that hospitality and customer service in healthcare is a recommended marketing option that I think has some traction in the business world. I think we've all seen that. And I think that there could be some traction as this philosophy is deployed in your practice or other healthcare communities. Because radical hospitality in healthcare is about the little things. If the DMV is more desirable as a place where people would rather go or the TSA line than a doctor's office, I think that there's a lot of room for improvement with these ideas. I'm not saying they'll work. I'm not saying they're perfect, but I've heard from other doctors. I've heard them share their stories. If you want to read and hear their stories for yourself, please go to conciergemedicinetoday.org. Check out what concierge doctors are doing. Come to our annual conference, the Concierge Medicine Forum, every October here in Atlanta. And you'll hear and meet the doctors who are doing this type of stuff. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for progress. So as you move into 2024, just consider these things. It could make, as Steve Jobs said, a dent in the universe. Make a dent in the universe. I love that metaphor because I think that that's what we're all trying to do. We're just trying to make a dent. We get so old and we get so burned and worked up and worked out over the years as we age in our careers that we recognize as we age that we can't change the world, but we can change our world. Maybe we can make a dent in the universe. And I know that for the sake of my kids and their kids, I want to leave the future of healthcare better than the way it found me. because it is no longer about being the best doctor in the world anymore. It is about being the best doctor for the world, for your patients, and for your local community. So that concludes our time today. I want to thank you for being with us. We'll post the replay of this as well. If there's any comments or questions, shoot me an email in the chat here. And there's content that you want to start seeing us have at our conferences or throughout the year here within the webinar or podcast interview community here at Concierge Medicine Today, let us know. We really appreciate it. Please let us know what you thought of today's conversation in the chat room here. We really appreciate it. So I'll stick on here for a couple more minutes or a few more, maybe another 60 seconds, and then I've got to move on to the next interview. So have a wonderful day, a great new year, and thank you for being here.